I think once you travel abroad, man, you see so many fine women that most women in America will be average to a lot of foreign women.
Oh
What's your
yeah,
take on that?
I agree with you 100% in regards
Yeah,
to that.
right.
That most American women are either, when it comes to just the physical part,
Just the physical
when
part,
you live
right?
in a when you live in a country where you have 70% of women in one form of obesity or another, that let's just talk about that. Let's not even talk about features and so forth, or
Hmm.
complexions or race. When you live in a country where 70% of the women fall up under the category of obesity in one level or another,
Right,
and you send any woman from the United States, doesn't matter what race, no matter what creed, just the average woman from the United States will blend in, never to be seen again, never to be
right,
noticed again.
right,
A lot of times women go to locations such as Portugal. Black women go to Portugal in droves because they stand out. Because if they
right.
went to South America, there is no way in the world they would dare stand out among the beautiful South American Afro Colombians, Afro Brazilians, Afro
Right,
Venezuelans,
right,
Afro
right.
Ecuadorians. There's nothing about African American women that stands out in the grand scheme of the world. You couldn't.
Hmm.
Let's put it like this: you couldn't take the average, and this is not a put down. This is just a fact, ladies. You couldn't take a woman from a 70% obese country and land her in most countries on the continent of Africa,
Hmm.
and tell her that she stands out.
Right.
You don't stand out. You only stand out in a little micro location known as the United States of America. It is a
Hmm.
country, not a
Hmm.
continent. It is a country, it is not a planet. And
Right.
most of the world is not defined by women that are 70% obese. So when I
Hmm.
sit back and I see guys demoralize themselves by overcompensating with our cars, with our, now that I've traveled, seeing us
Right.
overcompensating with our cars and our behavior and our clothing and our whatever it may be and our money. Look at me, I'm balling and I want the top shelf this. And you overcompensating for that? That in the United States, 70% obesity? It just saddens me. And what I would want
Hmm.
to say is this: I don't see a change coming anytime too soon, Kosha. And the only reason I say that is because statistically, 72% of Americans will never, ever leave the comfort of their own city. 72% of all Americans that were born in that particular city still live either in that city or on the outskirts of that city. They've never moved. 72% of Americans have never lived in any other place but the place where they were born. Least Long talking about getting a passport. Least Long, let's put it just the statistics of black people or minorities that have not
Hmm.
traveled and have not moved out of their neighborhood. So when I sit
Right.
back and I put that dynamic together, coach, we individuals such as yourself and myself, we are a very, very small group. Even the passport brothers that are celebrating Passport Bros Unite, we are so minute over the grand scheme of things in the United
That's
States.
true. You're right.
We our
You're right.
impact is not as prevalent as we actually think it is.
No, no, no. You're right. But sometimes it take that one match to start a bonfire,
And
and
I agree with that. I concur.
right,
Yeah.
and people say, well, they don't want. Listen, if you took a caravan and say 100,000 men that took them abroad and let them travel, I'm going to say with at least 95% accuracy, or maybe 90. I'll say 90 on the conservative side, 95 on the liberal side. Where the women are fine, fit, beautiful, respectful, I promise you, they would not want to come back to America
And
and deal with
and I
American
and
Western.
I say the opposite. I promise you that they do because they've already
They would
done it with
not.
the hundred
No, they
thousand
won't.
men. The military. Most military men
Okay, go ahead.
go back to the United States for
Mhm,
that have been out the United States for
mhm.
3, 2, 4 years. They've been to Italy. They've been to Germany. They've been on
Mhm.
leave. They've been to Africa. They've been to London. They've been all over Southeast Asia. Many of them were based in the Philippines. Many military guys. Over 100,000. Let's just use 100,000 military guys from every walk, race, color, or creed in the United States have had, at least for the most part, had the opportunity to spend a substantial time around women in other countries. And what happens? They scamper back to the United States, put their heads down as if they've never been anywhere before, and they die once again being part of the 72% of men that actually will never live in any other place but the location in which they were actually born. Every single one of them. So that experiment has already been done by our U.S. military.
So
It's
you don't
sad
think
but true.
you're saying that they're not getting abroad, or they will be conditioned to stay because they're
They
conditioned.
actually after going abroad, all those years, all those opportunities, seeing all those feminine women from different walks of life, from different cultures, they still, once their service in the military is over, they may travel here and there to those locations, but they still scamper back to the United States where they feel like they belong. They feel like because I serve this country, I have to be in this country, not realizing that there are provinces that are part of the United States that are not part of the main part of the United States. In other words, if, hey, listen, you could be in the Philippines, you're still part of the province known as the United States. You could be in some of these Caribbean islands and still be in a province of the United States. So when people sit back, you could be in Guam and still technically be in the United States, just like you could be in Puerto Rico. But that's not what we do. We don't go back to the Guams. We don't go back to the Philippines. We don't go back to the Caribbean islands. What we do, we scamper back to those 50 states. We keep our head down. We make a few little dollars. We get our military pension, and we pretend like we never saw all that beautiful femininity in all those other countries when we were serving in the military all those years. Now, is everybody like that? Of course not. There are a lot of military guys. We got a lot of ex-military guys that live here. But for the most part, we just talk about by experiment of 100,000 men. I'm telling you, you might get 5,000 to live outside the United States. You might get 5,000. But most of them, they're going to run back to the United States, put their head down, and wait for the 4th of July.
So you think they've been conditioned to be slaves for so
long? No, I'm not thinking. I'm going by the statistics of what they've already done. See, this is not Andre's opinion. Gotcha. You see where I'm going with that? That's why I use the military as an example of the example that you were using. Because as you were using, if they took 100,000 men, I was like, wait a minute, they've already done that. It's called the military.